Hi, this is Elliot Fishman. I'm speaking to you from the Arctic Circle, which is Baltimore, which is 5 degrees. Could be worse, I guess we can be in Chicago, minus 21 degrees. But anyway, we're happy everyone could join us. And today we have a special guest, Lily Kaufman. Welcome, Lily.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Lily's, actually, most of you have been interacting with Lily over the past few months. Lily joined us in October, so she's been here about 3 months. And she's been, really focusing on the social media. So I thought perhaps I would interview her today about things she's doing. So I'll just ask you some questions, Lily, and just feel free to answer for as long as you want. In terms of social media and education, the way we're trying to do things, what's your feeling of what we should be doing?
Okay, so what we've been kind of experimenting with and pioneering with recently is, of course, the Pinterest. So I think a lot of people are missing out on using it as a resource because a lot of medical and radiology learning is cases, and we have thousands of cases on CTisus, and it can
258,000 to be exact.
Yeah. And it can be a lot to go through all of them, and with Pinterest, it's really saving things for later. So you can save cases for later, and if you want to come back and study them, if you are a practicing radiologist and you see something and you say, well, this is something I've seen before, but I'm not really sure, you can go back to these cases, and Pinterest is a great way to get them all in one place. I mean, you could bookmark them, or
so let's go back. Let me go back a bit. So obviously we have the website, and that's like the repository of everything.
Yeah.
And then we have social media, which is trying to connect with people a little bit different than the classic way of the website. Yeah. And then I put cases up. We put cases up on Facebook all the time. We have a case of the day, and then we show more cases during the day and pearls. What does Pinterest provide to us? So just by show of hands, how many of you are using Pinterest? Okay, not that many. If you do a demographic, what's the demographics for Pinterest right now? Forget CTisus.
Yeah, young women.
Young women.
Brides.
Right, so Pinterest has a lot of pictures on it. So I did sign up for it. Then you can choose things you like. So you can choose like humor, you could choose quotes, you can choose radiology. But it is sort of a very young demographic, but it's also up and coming. I heard the number 3 person from Pinterest speak at CES, and they said they have 250 million users. So it's not an inconsequential platform.
Yeah.
So, right, so I never used it. So when Lily came, she thought we should use it. But so, okay, I post a single case on Facebook. What does Pinterest give me or give the rest of the users for CTisus? What's the advantage of Pinterest?
Well, because it's more designed for you to save something for later, while things like Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, that's really more to keep you updated. For example, Facebook, it can be really difficult to go through all the case studies that we post because you have to scroll down. You can't really search anything in our profile. So it's really not a good resource if you want to save things. While Pinterest is the opposite of that. It's an excellent resource if you want to look at things and save them for later and keep them all consolidated in one place.
Okay. So I'll ask the question a different way then. Let's compare it to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So Instagram, basically, if you use CTisus Instagram, we have better than 19,000 users, and there's static images, there's videos.
Yep.
So why would you use one over the other? Why Instagram? Why Pinterest? Or use both? What's the advantages, disadvantages, perhaps?
Well, I guess an advantage of using Pinterest over Instagram would definitely be the same thing. Instagram, even more so than Facebook, it's really difficult to go back in time and retrieve things that you've seen before. But I guess an advantage that Instagram might have over Pinterest is that it keeps more current. So Pinterest isn't really good with news. The algorithm isn't necessarily based off of recent updates, while Instagram is the opposite. It is based off of things that you've recently posted, and you get alerted with that. So we do post things like the CME, RSNA, things that happen. So that would be a lot better to keep up with on Instagram rather than Pinterest.
So if I'm so I know with, just maybe you can explain to the users, because a lot of people haven't used it. So if you use Instagram, so let's say I want to look at pancreatic tumors.
Yes.
So if I was on Instagram, how would I find all the pancreatic tumors that are around?
You would have to search for hashtag pancreatic tumors or pancreatic cancer or something like that. On Instagram, you look for things via hashtags.
Right. So, okay, so you look for hashtags. And so not only, so if you were a CTisus user, if you went to CTisus on Instagram, you would see all the stuff you posted. But if you want to get just pancreatic cancer, so you would do hashtag pancreatic cancer or pancreatic tumor, whatever you thought was better. And then that would connect you with anything put up by anybody?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now let's fast forward to Pinterest. And so let's say the same thing as I want to see pancreatic tumors. How would I go about it then?
You would search for it in the search bar. You could look for boards, users, and specific pins. And you would look up for, again, pancreatic tumor, pancreatic cancer, something like that. And if it's in the description or link URL, then it can come up.
And how does it give it to you? Does it give it to you in sequence of orders, or just, I mean, I did something the other day looking at, I just typed in radiology, and which is not a very, a very good term perhaps, but I typed in CT, okay? And I was given like, an incredible number of images. Some of them were actually, the first one was CTisus, so that was good.
Yeah.
But then there were a lot of them from a lot of different places, and I wasn't sure like how I would go about using them. I mean, I could touch each one, and then it would look like it had a meta tag or some label or something, right, for each picture.
Yeah.
But, it just seemed to be like, almost like you had a box from a puzzle, and you open the box that has a 1,000-piece puzzle. There's 1,000 pieces there, but I didn't have a feel of how would I, manage that information.
You'd have to create Pinterest boards. So if you go to our Pinterest, we do have different boards like liver, kidney, all the case studies. We have also some other things, and we just divide it into those specific categories. So that's what a user would have to do, is organize it themselves.
So the way you would see people using Pinterest is as a way of gathering material and putting in their own. So you might have a box on pancreas and a box on liver. So you would bring stuff over?
Yes, exactly.
And then, so what could you do with it? Could you use it to show other people, or how would you use it perhaps? Use it for yourself, just to...
Well, you can show other people with it since it is on the internet. And you can also use it for yourself, mostly for reference. So that's what a lot of people do use Pinterest for. For like brides, they try to put all their wedding gowns on there and look for it later. And that's what I think could be really advantageous for radiology, is using all of these links that we have and really consolidating them there to look for them later. And a lot of people aren't really doing that, but I think it could be really useful.
And let's say, okay, I did what you just said, and now I have a box with just pancreatic tumors, okay? How do you look at them? Like, so when I was looking, and I did this very quickly, basically it was like a screen to me and had 1 million images. They had some images that weren't on the topics. Looks like a few things slipped in by themselves, okay? Including Amy Adams, who I do like. It. One of my favorite movies, what's the one where she was like the princess who came?
Enchanted?
Was it Enchantment? It was a really good movie.
Yeah.
She comes, she arrives in New York, and then she like thinks she's a princess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, you have to watch the movie.
I know what you're talking about.
It's Enchanted. Maybe it's Enchanted, is that?
I think so.
Yeah, she's really good in that movie. It's a really good movie. And what's his name? McDreamy is the guy or something.
Yeah.
And some very funny scenes with mice and everything else. Anyway, you had to be there, but that's not the point. Okay, so I got all those images, but I don't understand how I look at them, because it looked to me like I had a montage of things. The labels weren't there unless I touched the images, right?
Yeah.
So that may not be you think it's worthwhile for people to try it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we do have Pinterest. If you look at CTisus, we have LinkedIn, we have Pinterest, We can talk about, LinkedIn. How many of you use LinkedIn? So it's interesting in the real world, which is not radiology, everybody's on LinkedIn. I think it's a very critical thing. So for example, we had our speaker yesterday, Keith Grossman from Bloomberg. If you go to his page, he has his basic information. You know, he went to school at Cornell. He has his job history. He was at Wired, and then he's been at Bloomberg for about 5 years and shows his different positions. But then, so he has all the stuff that's sort of background material. Okay, that's great. But then he had a lot of stuff, like he posted an article he had just written. So how do you, so you could see, and I've noticed this before, so I've been looking at LinkedIn since you've been here, where people have a lot of information, actually good articles attached to what they do on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So how do you think people should be, radiologists, technologists, how should people be looking and using LinkedIn?
I think actually with that, rather than experimenting like we are with Pinterest, we're kind of jumping on the bandwagon. A lot of people there are kind of using it. I think it can be really advantageous for radiologists to connect and share with each other. So I think that's a big part of what CTisus is trying to do, is to make sure that people have access to case studies, journals, and all of that. And LinkedIn is a really good resource for connecting with other people across the globe who are in the same field as you, and sharing those updates, like new cases, new journals that have been published, that type of thing.
Right, you can check up on people from a long time ago. You see a lot of people. Yeah,
definitely.
What the heck they're doing. So before I ask you a few other questions, let's look at the board. So if people have questions, this is a good time to ask. So here's a question from Francis Garay, and want to know, considering image resolution, which is very important in radiology, what social media platform probably is best? Or is there a difference?
There can be. A lot of social media does condense images, of course, because they have restrictions. I'm trying to not say the website, but I think the website would be the best.
Right. Our website's definitely the best, but basically we don't downsize. Everything is 3.2 megabyte images. That's the best.
Say probably Facebook, because we can get a lot of good quality images on Facebook if we upload them correctly. And other things like Instagram, for instance, they can completely condense images. Right. So that would probably be my guess, but there's nothing that really damages image quality to.
But it is a compression. I mean, so many people don't know, for example, okay, so if I have a 512 by 512 images, which we typically have, if I put it into PowerPoint, it's really taking it down to like 90-ish DPI.
Yeah.
Now, you don't really notice it because the way PowerPoint does it, the images look really high res, but it's taking it down by many factor fold, because otherwise your presentations would be just way too large. You'd have like gigabyte presentations, which Facebook doesn't really do a good job with. So let's see. So if anyone has any other questions, I know we have people from Italy, we have people from Reno, we have people from Baltimore. If anyone has any questions, it's a good time to ask. What else do you see? I mean, you weren't in medicine before, 2 or 3 months ago. Anything that seems to be different in what and how you need to work in this environment, besides the security and all the kind of things we know about, but anything different in the way we do things, or anything we can learn from other businesses?
It's actually a lot similar. We were listening to Keith Grossman last night, and it's really similar because, of course, this is medicine is actually in a way a business, and we're trying to gain people's trust. We're trying to make sure that they know of us and come to us. So if anything, I would say I was a little bit intimidated because I had no experience with the medical field, but it's actually really similar. And I think looking at it that way can help a lot with marketing and really connecting with other people.
Right. And that's a good point. I think as she was mentioning, like Keith Grossman last night, he was mentioning that 2 factors always transcend everything. One is truth, and then one is information. Those are the two, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
We read the article, but I think you get the gist. And I think one of the things he said is that, where you need to, whatever company you are or whatever business you're in, you need to make sure that people have a trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
That, people really only deal well if they have a trust. So whether it's CTisus, whether it's anything we do or other people do, it's really the importance of people trusting. So there needs to be that truth. And again, these days, as he said, truth is often the eye of the beholder, but it needs to be something substantial that people can look at. So I think we put a lot of effort into doing that. But and that's one of the reasons we're looking at social media for many things. Is one is at CTisus, our feeling is that we should try things because they may be, as we've spoken many times, maybe something incredibly good. It may not be good. If it's not good, then we won't do it. But I think things are always changing. I mean, before we, I made CDs and I made VHS tapes, and then we did stuff on the web, and now we do stuff, basically like Facebook Live. We do stuff on the Apple Store. How we deliver information, perhaps the content of the information. So Keith was saying last night, the most important thing is quality. He was talking about the Iliad. So he said people told that story before the book, but then there was a book. Now you can watch it on video and the movies. You can watch the same thing anywhere, but it's the fact is you need something with good content. So I think all of these things with CTisus, perhaps if we weren't producing really good content on CTisus, all of these sort of periphery things would maybe shrivel up and disappear.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's see. I think we're running out of time here, past 16 minutes. If anyone has any second questions, we'll be happy to answer them. If not, we'll still answer. If you post a question, we'll post an answer. So with that, thank you, Lily, for letting me use your cubicle. We recorded Lily's cubicle, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Bye.